Welcome to the SportsBros podcast, featuring the almighty B-Live, the money man Scottie D, and your host, the head of creative Eddy. The SportsBros podcast, by the fan, for the fan, talking sports just the way you like it. And without any further ado, let's give it up for the SportsBros. It's Wednesday, aka the week before Turkey Day. You know what that means? It's time for another episode of your favorite sports podcast, none other than the SportsBros podcast. Be live. I'm getting old, man. I lost count. 226. That we at now?
I believe so. I hope so.
Yeah, we've done over 200 plus episodes. Shout out to everybody that's been rocking with us over these last 4 years. Keep on rocking with us. Keep on rolling with us because we've only just begun. I'm the HOC here at SportsBros Podcast. And of course, you know, I can't do this by myself. Not only do I have one, but I have two of the best co-hosts in the world. Introducing first with his fly work shirt on, looking good as only as he could. He is the almighty B-Live.
What's happening? What's going on in the world today? Woo, the NFL was something else. And I didn't know how much I relied on Tyreek Hill in my fantasy league until I didn't have him this week. And my team was terrible. 0-3 in my 3 fantasy leagues. I don't want to hear it. I'm almost, I might be, nope. JR is dead last in our SportsBros league, so I can always count on him to be. So there's a lot to talk about. I'm gonna try to save a couple of rants. I'm gonna try to sob. But I've been waiting on this very moment for quite a few reasons, and we'll get into them a little bit later. Go ahead and bring in the other guy, see what he's got to say, see what he's got to sing to him, and have him brighten up the mood just a little bit for me.
Well, brighten up the mood. You better watch out. He's dancing, swinging from side to side. He is the pride of Washington, Pennsylvania, and Scottie cum laude at Waynesburg State University. He is the one, the only, the money man, Scottie D.
Over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house we go.
What?
Yeah, this is it. This is going to be our last episode before Thanksgiving.
Oh yes, that is right. That is right.
So I'm singing out a little Thanksgiving tune in honor of the big day. I will be sitting very fatly in my recliner on that day, watching the Cowboys and Indians. I'm sorry, the Cowboys and Commanders on that day. The age-old tradition of Dallas Cowboy football and Thanksgiving. And they have ruined a few of them for me the last few years. So they better do the right thing this year. But and you know, now that Dak is at the top of the MVP conversation following that performance on Sunday.
You're cut off. You're immediately cut off.
That was sarcasm. That was sarcasm.
I know it's sarcasm, but ESPN is sarcastic about their coverage. And that I almost forgot about this rant. And it's going to happen right here, right
MVP.
So ESPN, y'all need to stop this.
And be live. I don't know why you're missing Tyreek Hill so much when I'm sure you had Calvin Ridley, who you said was going to be.
I don't care about.
He is going to be so good this year. Your opening day prediction. He's going to light it up. He's going to be on fire. All roads lead to Dabo. We got Trevor Lawrence to Calvin Ridley.
That's to distract me right now. ESPN, mark my words. This is twice now that the Cowboys have dismantled the New York Football Giants. Their third string quarterback, and now once again. Yep, this is the conversation that ESPN is having. Was this Dak's best performance ever? Are the Cowboys legit? Are they real? It's the Giants. They've done this before, and y'all wash, rinse, repeat. Why? Is Jared Jones literally writing you a check after every game? Like, hey, here you go. Here's $1 million. I need y'all to cover everything Dallas. Hype them up. Because every time ESPN,
they're the most interesting team in football. They're not the best team, but they're the most interesting. Year in and year out, they just are.
They're the most irritating team in football.
And now,
why is there so much?
And now Dak is a legit MVP candidate after that performance against the mighty Giants.
And now,
MVP.
I perpetuated the situation because I brought it on our platform here because it's irritating. It's stupid.
Eddy, start the show.
Oh,
Eddie, start the show.
So much anger as soon as I saw.
Before B Live seizes up on us, start the show.
I saw it immediate, like I saw red. I'm like, that's what I wanted.
He just be live. We getting there. He just blanked out. And with that being said, I'm gonna shut the hell up and let's go ahead and hop right into it. The top of the order. All right, let's get this thing started. Here it is, the top of the order. It is that time of the season, the midway point, if you want to call it that, or the midterms, if you will. So here at the SportsBros podcast, the three of us, we've taken time to actually look at the league as a whole, look at players, teams, coaches, and everything as a whole. And guess what? We're grading your asses. Yes, we have our grades. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to mention one team, one player, and one coach that deserve an A. And at the tail end of this, we're going to mention one team, one player, one coach that just ain't making the grade. With that being said, I'll go first. My first team that gets an A is the Philadelphia Eagles. Reason being because they are 8-1 and they're to the top of the NFC East Division. Here's some interesting stats. Fourth down conversions, when they do the tush push or the brotherly shove, whatever you want to call it, the most illegal play in the history of professional sports, they are 13 of 17 in fourth down conversions, and it has a lot to do with that. You look at Jalen Hurts, still playing some good football, passed for over 2,347 yards, 15 touchdowns through the air and 7 on the ground. And A.J. Brown, who was 8th in the league, with 1,005 yards and 6 touchdowns as a wide receiver, and they are 5th in total offense. So that is my team that gets an A. Scottie D, what team are you giving an A grade to?
Might be kind of low-hanging fruit, but the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay.
They started off the season in prime time, losing to the Detroit Lions. It was not a sign of things to come. It was just a team that had a bad night, getting off to a rough start and ironing out some preseason injury type situations and all that stuff. But they're 7-2 and they're going to the Super Bowl again. Their defense has only allowed 143 points this season. They're still scoring. They still have Patrick Mahomes. I don't see a team to me that jumps off the page and says, this is our year to knock off Kansas City. It's just too normal. They are just in too good of a groove. The regular season is just passing time to get to the postseason for that team. Be live. Who you got? That's my A, Chiefs.
I'm gonna use my inner Lee Corso. Not so fast, my friend. When you say it wasn't a precursor of things to come, because my team that gets an A is the team that beat Kansas City at the beginning of the season, the Detroit Lions, that also boast a 7-2 record. Also, I want to remind you, this is the same Kansas City team that could only muster up 9 points against the Denver Broncos. Now the big question is, Denver Broncos actually that good? That's neither here nor there. I'm gonna talk about the Detroit Lions. 7-2. They've got it. I won't say they have a stranglehold on the division because the Minnesota Vikings on a 5-game win streak. Who'd have thunk it? Ever since they beat Carolina, but yeah, the Detroit Lions. I've been talking about them for years. finally are putting the pieces together. Young team. Jared Goff is playing like the Jared Goff that I thought he could always be. I always thought he got a raw deal in LA with the Rams. They can go pretty far in the playoffs. Will they surpass Philadelphia? We shall see. But they get an A from me. So when it comes to players, Eddie Cool, what you got? When it comes to a player that gets an A from you, what's happening?
A player that has it going on like a mug right now is Cleveland Browns defensive end Myles Garrett, leading the league with 11 sacks, first in the National Football League, and a key focal point in the Browns defense. They are number one in total defense. Yeah, you have to look at this from a standpoint as to where Deshaun Watson, the quarterback play, it wasn't so certain, still trying to find his groove. He sprained his shoulder. He did something to it. He's not starting this week. He was able to start this week, but didn't want to start this week. Myles Garrett said, well, you know what? While you figuring out what the hell is going on, I'm going to do what I do and be all-world defensive end. I think Myles Garrett should be in the MVP conversation because it's with him and the rest of that defense with Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, that's keeping this team afloat. Now, you have to also consider this too. They're doing all of this without Nick Chubb. They are doing all of this without Nick Chubb. So my grade A goes to Myles Garrett of the Cleveland Browns. Scottie D, what say you?
Well, this is going to be a little bit of a tough one for me to actually to say out loud because I have a couple of different guys I wanted to give A's to. Lamar Jackson's playing A football, I think, considering he finished the season last year hurt and we didn't know what he was going to look like coming into the season and the contract thing. We didn't know if he's going to be a Raven. That wasn't even a given. CJ Stroud's playing kind of A type football down there, but I'm going to award my personal A to Jalen Hurts. And it hurts for me to say that as a Cowboy fan, to pass that kind of glory on to this division rival. But you hear year after year teams that lose the Super Bowl have like the Super Bowl hangover and often don't even make the playoffs. And there's no evidence of that this year. And that's because of really good coaching and a really good quarterback. And the Eagles had significant changes this offseason. I think their offensive coordinator left. They had lost some key pieces in free agency. But Jalen Hurts is playing leadership type of football. He's just very level-headed. He's not making mistakes. He's got 15 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. But it's more than just a statistical thing with this guy. It's the leadership quality. He gets the first downs when he needs them. He's kind of, like I say, he's that element of steadiness for this team, and they're leading that division. And it's going to be tough at this point for anybody, Cowboys included, to catch that team. Be Live, how you like my A?
I would definitely golf clap to your A because when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, you said about the Super Bowl hangover. Very rarely do you see a team lose the Super Bowl and get better. Very rarely. And I think the Eagles have done that. I'm hard pressed to say. And I'm gonna give an A to AJ Brown because that dude's playing otherwise.
Yeah.
But there's an A+ out there, which I don't normally do. This is an A+. Because, man, we looked at this dude goofy when he said what he said. When he said that Tua Tagovailoa was a more accurate passer than Patrick Mahomes, we looked at like this dude is goofy as all outdoors. And all he has done this year has proven himself right. Tyreek Hill, wow. I think he's unguardable. You know that they're going to throw him the ball. There's no doubt about that. And yet he's leading the league in reception yards. Like he is just a barn burner. Like he gets the ball and he extends play after play after play after play. God, I missed him this week on fan. I said what I said. Man, oh man. But at the end of the day, it's coaching, baby. It's coaching. And there's a few A's out there for coaches as well. Eddie Cool, what say you?
Speaking of coaches, I think you're going to like this one. It's amazing what you can do in 2 weeks. And with that being said, I'm talking about the interim and should be head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, Antonio Pierce. They have gone 2-0 since he's taken over. And the Raiders, they just look different. I watched the game Sunday night. I'm like, you know what? Something's magical here. It's damn near identical to what Rich Bisaccia had whenever John Gruden got canned or whatever a few years ago. And I'm like, okay, this is a different look Raiders team, whatever. You know, they're not over here, got Devontae Adams running a reverse, because that's not what Devontae Adams does. He doesn't run reverses. He lines up, runs routes, find the ball, get to him. The hell with Jimmy Garoppolo, I'll say that. And Aiden McConnell or O'Connell, whatever his name is, Aiden O'Connell has taken over, and he's been pretty serviceable. We'll say that. They are second place in the AFC West at 5-5, which means, hey, Chargers, guess what? Keep on doing the mess y'all doing. Keep on losing to the Lions, and Brandon Staley, keep on doing what you're doing, Brandon Staley. You're going to be hanging out with Josh McDaniels as well, too. And they pretty much own the state of New York as they beat the Giants and the Jets the last 2 weeks. Now, it'll be interesting to see what they do in their next 5 games. They'll be at Miami. Then they have, I think, three home games in a row with the Chiefs, the Vikings, and the Chargers. And then they go on the road to Arrowhead to play the Kansas City Chiefs. So, Antonio Pierce is bringing that whole swag back to Raider Nation. Much needed swag to Raider Nation.
Get it right this time, Raiders.
Please.
What's the Raiders owner? Get it right this time.
Mark Davis, Scottie D's boy with his favorite haircut.
Like, this is never in the history of ever has a team had 2 good interim coaches and passed on them both. Like, get this one right. Come on. Do what you got to do. My bad. I had to put that out there. That was me with you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, it makes sense. If it's working, don't mess with it. Forget them other names. Forget them retreads. Just go ahead. Hey, Antonio Pierce for Raiders head coach. I made it cool, and I approve this message. What say you, Scottie D?
Yeah, it seems like the players are connecting with him. And as you mentioned, the Chargers are a frustrating team. They seem like they're right there ready to take that next step, and then they're just treading water. Okay, so my A coaches, I decided I was going to wait till the last second to choose between Dan Campbell and John Harbaugh. And Be Live, you can convince me to go with Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel, I'm giving the A+ to for kind of what you said, getting that high-powered offense in gear. We weren't even sure if Tua was going to be the guy after the way he looked last year at times. And Mike McDaniel has kind of come in and put a little charge in this team, playing to Tua's strength, letting him get that ball out quick and getting it to his playmakers. Tyreek Hill, like you said, he's already an A. He's already over 1,000 yards for the season. And the team seems to be buying into Mike McDaniel. They have 3 losses at Buffalo, which is always going to be a tough division game, at Philadelphia, the team that was in the Super Bowl last year. We just mentioned is only a 1-loss team right now. And their 3rd loss was to the Chiefs. So they're not like going out and laying clunkers like the Cowboys and losing to the Arizona Cardinals or doing any of that kind of silly nonsense. They've lost to some formidable teams. Now, are they ready to take the next step? That remains to be seen. If they get a crack at the Chiefs, maybe this is the team I was talking about that I didn't see coming, of who might be challenging the Chiefs to knock them off in the AFC. But as of the time being, Mike McDaniel's got this team playing really good football, and Miami look legit. They look for real, and I'm hard pressed to think that they're not going to end up as the division champion this season. Be Live.
Well, I gave you an opportunity, and no, Mike McDaniel is a great answer. I will not fault you for that. But you mentioned the guy that I need to mention before I go into my actual answer. If I was going to give an A-, or I should just give a name. I already mentioned the team itself, but MCDC. If you haven't heard of this acronym, MCDC, Motor City Dan Campbell.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
I might have stole that from Pat McAfee. I don't normally steal. I lie. I steal a lot. It is what it is.
Don't say that too loud.
Motor City Dan Campbell. He gets an A- for me. I mentioned Detroit. But dude, if I'm giving an A out and this hurts my feelings, it hurts. Because it's partly because of my beloved Carolina Panthers and their debacle when it came to this draft. Yeah, I'm usually very positive about certain things. And the writing's on the wall. This isn't working. We should have gotten CJ Stroud. And D'Amico Ryans is doing his thing down in Houston to the point of where we wrote Houston off. And especially me and Eddy Cool, because of what they've done in the past when it came to African-American coaches and African-Americans in general. Yeah, I said it. I didn't give D'Amico Ryans a chance in Houston. Man, they're contenders for that division. Jacksonville is some things like Jacksonville ain't convincing me all the way. And you got my boy, Trevor Lawrence, T. Law, Travis Etienne, Calvin Ridley. Y'all should be burning it down. Y'all laid a whole turd burger against San Fran. Like San Fran was on the worst side of a 3-game losing streak, and you've got everybody believing that they're Super Bowl contenders again. And that's a whole nother story. Like you got Chase Young on one side and Joey Bosa on the other side. Ohio State teammates.
Nick Bosa.
And one of them Bosas, Joey's in Los Angeles, right? So, okay, you said Joey is in San Fran and Nixon, or is it the other way around?
Nick's in San Fran, Joey's in LA. Nick
Bosa, okay, and Joy is with the Chargers. Go Chargers, go.
What team is Harpo Bosa? Is he still in the league?
Harpo Bosa. Harpo, who this woman?
Harpo Bosa, is he still in the league? I've lost track of his career.
I'm going to go ahead and apologize to Oprah because you got either. I mean, I know you got enough money to sponsor us, Oprah. Pay him no.
Oprah. No, I'm talking about Harpo Marx, not Oprah. The Marx brothers. Come on.
I get what you mean. Who's on first? Who's on third?
No, that's Abbott Costello.
Well, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. As usual,
nobody knows what we're talking about right now. This went way off the rails. What did you talking about? But either way, I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to the Bosa brothers. But y'all know what I mean. Y'all, that's just ridiculous. But D'Amico Ryans, the city of Houston, they're believers. And come on now. Come on. Trevor Lawrence, Jacksonville, get it together, please. I could be right with y'all as well. I was right about Detroit. I want to be right about the Jacksonville Jaguars. D'Amico Ryans is making it really, really hard. Whew. Now, we've been giving out A's. Not everybody can get an A. There's some failures out there, flat out failures. Out of all the F's that you want to give out, Eddy Cool, who gets the biggest F, whether it be a player, coach, or a team altogether?
I've been waiting to say this since Super Bowl 38, and after Super Bowl 38, the biggest F that I'm giving are the New England Patriots. In the words of the Almighty Be Live, what happened? They sit in the bottom of the league or the bottom portion of the league in damn near every statistical category, especially offense. They can only put up 14.1 points a game. And that's with P. Shooter Jones and Juju Smith-Schuster and whoever the hell else that you got going on over there in New England. The Patriots look bad. Bug Zappy over there, and you just got it's just Josh McDaniels. He'll go running his ass over there wearing the visor indoors again. It's just the fact that like they went from sugar to you know what, and it's a classic case of now we know who really made who. People can debate it all they want to. We know that Tom Brady went on and won a Super Bowl and was still successful and threw for 5,000 yards after the fact. Bill Belichick has went through some. They made the playoffs like what, once or twice since Tom Brady left, if that. I lost track, and it's just the Patriot way ain't Patriot way. So they get the biggest F of the season. I could give it to the low hanging fruit, the Carolina Panthers, but the Patriots, man, come on, man. Scottie D, what say you?
Well, I'm going to give it to an individual. And that guy's name is Sean McDermott, because the Buffalo Bills Super Bowl window is open right now, and they're sitting at 5-5. Their quarterback looks completely lost. Josh Allen seems like he can't get out of his own way. He's starting to look more, instead of progressing and taking steps, he's kind of regressing. He looks like kind of how Tony Romo looked for a little while there, where he would tease you and make great plays, and then he'd break your heart with picks. He's kind of like a modern day Romo or Philip Rivers, guys who just were so tantalizingly good, but just never really got over that hump. And that's where Buffalo's in danger. They have losses this year. Opening night, they laid an egg at the Jets. And that was when the Jets came in with all the hype of Aaron Rodgers, and he played for about 20 seconds. So the Zach Wilson-led Jets on opening night beat Buffalo. Then they lost to the Jaguars. That's not a terrible loss, but then they lost at New England. And we just were saying, Eddie, just talking about how much of a dumpster fire that team is. They couldn't get a win there. They lost at the Bengals again, not a terrible loss, but nonetheless, that's when you're going to need if you're going to be contending, because that's you're talking about home field maybe down the road here in January. And then Monday night was a debacle. That was just a sloppy mess. A home game on Monday Night Football against the Broncos, who have just been leaking oil. And you turn the ball over multiple times, you look terrible, and guess what happens at the end of the game? You catch a break because their field goal kicker comes out and shanks a gimme. And what happens? You have 12 guys on the field. You just took 2 timeouts. You didn't have enough time to figure out who's on the field goal block unit. That's unacceptable. And that seat is blazing under the rear end of Sean McDermott, because Buffalo now slips to 5-5. They're 2 games behind Miami in the loss column. And a tough bit of a stretch of the schedule coming up. There's too many other good AFC teams right now where I can't just say, well, they're going to get it together and make the postseason. If they don't make the postseason, that's just a shame. There's just too much talent on this team. So McDermott, you're not making any kind of adjustments. You're not helping your guy to fix what's wrong with them. You get an F right now. Be live.
Hey, I took all the good ones. Man, I'm bleeding over here now. You didn't hit all the hot spots though, because I got an F minus all the way across the board. Because Eddie Cool, you mentioned Bill Belichick, and I'm gonna argue real quick. Bill Belichick, I think at the end of the day, of course, he's a Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Fame coach. Mm-hmm. But you can't coach the same way for 20-something years and think people ain't gonna catch on to what you got going on. And I think that's where he's running it. Not the fact that his schemes weren't great. It's just that he just hasn't changed. He had to change the Patriot way. It had to change. And now it's being exposed because you don't have an elite quarterback leading the run. Scottie, you hit the nail on the head, because I was going to flat out give an F minus to Josh Allen, because you can't keep turning the ball over like this at a record pace. You're turning into famous Jameis Jabu when it comes to the quarterback. Make great throw, but you keep turning the ball over. And still, the Broncos had a +3 turnover margin, and it was tied still. And you still can't let it. Man, come on. But at the end of the day, F minus, incomplete. You're gonna have to stay in first grade all over again. We're gonna try this again one more year, maybe. Hopefully not. It's gonna go to my beloved. Carolina Panthers, because it's across the board. Frank Wright, F-. Well, what are you doing? Like, I see no development. I see nothing positive, something that I can lean on next year without a first round draft pick. Something's got to happen this year to give us some type of hope, or our entire franchise is a absolute disaster, which leads me to Scott Fitterer. Jesus Christ, I said this a long time ago. Your trade to Chicago is looking worse and worse and worse. And Chicago coming in and beating the Panthers to ensure that Chicago gets a better pick from us is the ultimate insult. And at the end of the day, the man leading the whole charge, David Tepper, you got a lot of money. You've won at a lot of things. Football, you have not won, not yet at all. I haven't seen it, and the future looks bleak. I am going to keep pounding to the day I die because of Sam Mills. Man, you're making it real hard to be a Panthers fan. F's across the board. Give me some type of hope. Now we got the Cowboys coming up this coming week, and I gotta hear Scottie D.
Well, that's not my style.
Shit, I cussed. My bad. I didn't mean to. I cussed real on the air. Please do better than the Giants. Please perform a little bit better than the Giants. I cannot lose 40-3, 49-17. I can't. My heart won't be able to take that with Scottie D.
Oh, the Cowboys have beaten the Panthers before, and I didn't splash water in your face, so don't worry about it. I'm not. They're in two teams in two different phases of their clubs right now. So Carolina's in a rebuild. The Cowboys are where they always are, teasing you, acting like they're contenders. It's just it is what it is.
We've been rebuilding since we tried to rebuild Cam Newton's shoulder. It just rebuild. We can make. Can make it stronger. Whatever movie that came from, I know I misquoted it, but we've been trying to do that for the past 5 years, and we've been ruled out. And so, yeah, I meant that exactly. We've been ruled out.
Yeah, worse. It's the worst birthday present ever. I told somebody a few days ago. I said, in 3 years, the Bears are going to be here. In 3 years, the Panthers are going to be here. And yeah, they really.
The Bears better do something with all of this. If they still suck after all this that we've given them, and they still suck, we're gonna have words and problems.
Yeah, they haven't had like a legit number one quarterback since like the 1950s. If I was them, I would draft every quarterback next year. And I just keep drafting them, and then maybe
every offensive lineman, and get it right, Panthers. O-line, and O-line, and then put more O-line to it. They're terrible. God awful. Worst I've ever seen. F triple minus. Like, can I give a G grade? Like, just god awful. Carolina Panthers O-line, G.
Yep. They have definitely got to do better. Well, we're up against it right now, and coming up next, B-Live got something for us. What is it? The B-Live Top 5. Coming right at you after this on the SportsBros podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Orediggers, lobster lovers, eaters of clams, and teams that claim to be America's team, but they clearly aren't. This is the B-Live Top 5.
Well, here we are again. And, when it comes to the thick of things, my top five, don't really change that much as long as the teams keep winning. We've got 5 undefeated teams, and my opinion is going to differ. Whatever college football playoff, I don't think we've ever been on the same page. At the end of the day, the best team normally wins, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to quickly just go through my top 5, but I'm going to get into the meat of the matter in just a moment. My top 5 comes in and consists as follows. Number 5, Coming in is the Ohio State University. The College Football Playoff Committee has them at number 1. I beg to differ. I'm not convinced. I won't be convinced until they beat Michigan, and then we'll see what happens after that. But as of right now, I think Michigan's better than Ohio State, which leaves Ohio State as the odd team out. Number 4, Florida State University they're already clinched the ACC championship. I think it's still between North Carolina and Louisville who they face. I think Florida State just handles business between either one of those teams. Florida State, they're in, barring some craziness against Florida at the last game of the season. But yeah, Florida State.
Wait, they got to get past North Alabama first. Don't overlook North Alabama. That's very disrespectful. Go ahead.
Once again, with his research, just to spite me. Number 3 coming in, Washington Huskies. They handle business again this week. Michael Penn is doing his thing. Washington is doing what the Pac-12 never. They're not allowing the rest of the conference to beat up on each other. And the last final hurrah for the Pac-12 looks like they're going to put a team into the college football playoff. Washington, I have high hopes for them. Number 2, the Georgia Bulldogs. They're still number 2 to me. I know they just beat number 9 Ole Miss, but who in their right mind ranked Ole Miss number 9? That was silly. That was tragic. They beat nobody. Have you seen who they played? I mean, they played nobody. They played LSU and they played Alabama. That's it. And they lost to Alabama and lost handily to Alabama. Like, they're not a top 10 team. But so Georgia still remains number 2 to me. And number 1, Michigan against the world, Michigan Wolverines. I think they're the most well-rounded team. I think they might have given Georgia a run for their money last year if it wasn't for TCU. But really, the meat of the matter, and I'm coming in hot. The Be Live not top 5. Coming in at number 5, Penn State. Why we keep ranking Penn State in the top 10? Year after year after year. And they do the same thing every year. They lose to Michigan, they lose to Ohio State. That is not top 10.
So they just lost to the number 1, your number 1, and that gets them on the not top 5.
Yeah, and you know why they're overrated?
Okay.
Why they're overrated? Because Michigan didn't even have their coach. And
yet you have them number 1. So
yeah,
anybody loses to Michigan makes the Be Live not top 5.
Penn State does. Because Michigan ran the ball. Like, Michigan wasn't even, there was no creativeness when it came to what Michigan was going to do. They ran the ball down Penn State's throat, and Penn State couldn't do anything to stop it. It was ridiculous.
Very good.
Why are they in the top 10? Number 4, like I said before, Ole Miss. Why were they in the top 10? They played nobody, and it showed when they faced the Georgia team. It's just clearly just there. It's Georgia, Alabama, and then everybody else in the SEC. And the SEC is not that good. Stop ranking these teams so high. Coming in at number 3, Kansas. Oh, you're a basketball school. You're a basketball. They try to put you up there, but no. They put you up at number 16, and then you lose. I was looking over it, and I lost it real quick. Oh, who Kansas lost to? They lost to Texas Tech.
Yeah,
Texas Tech 5-5. And Kansas didn't even score a point until the 4th quarter. But this is the number 16 in the country. Yeah, no, wrong, try again. Coming in at number 2, Bedlam. You dethroned your rival in Oklahoma, and then you turn around, number 15 in the country, score 3 points against UCF.
UCF's good.
5-5 UCF.
They're really good.
45-3 Oklahoma State. I'm a man. I'm 40. Oh my God, you would have been clearly number one, but number one is just something going to be completely different. And I've been holding this rant for quite a while for this entire, well, actually not this entire week, but the way it happened. Number one in Beeline's not top 5, overrated, just wrong for all the wrong reasons, is the Big Ten leadership. Y'all are foul. Y'all are wrong. You even said in your statement when you suspended Jim Harbaugh that you had no evidence that he was linked to Connor Stallions. You said that you had no evidence, and yet you suspend the guy anyway? Not only did you suspend him, but you suspended him while he was on the flight to Happy Valley. You suspended him on a Friday. You had all week to do this. You suspended him on a Friday during a holiday weekend when you knew the courts were going to be closed. So when Michigan would try to file a temporary injunction and have him coaching on the sideline, they couldn't even do that because the courts were closed. That has got to be the most cowardly. I can't say what I really want to say on the air about the Big Ten leadership, but that was, it was an itch in my back. It was y'all are an itch, and then you just add the second letter in the alphabet. That's who y'all are.
They don't like Harbaugh.
That's clear as day. Y'all.
He's an odd character. They don't like him.
Yeah.
That was foul. Michigan has admitted that, hey, this was wrong, et cetera, et cetera. Connor Stallions is no longer with the program. The world sees that Michigan is guilty. But there's so many ways to punish the program besides suspending the coach that you had no evidence on. Take away scholarships. Ban them from postseason play a year from now. I don't know. All kinds of ways. Hey, vying the heck out of the university. You don't suspend somebody that may or may not have had anything to do with it when you said that you have no evidence. And Jim Harbaugh said it straight up, flat out. He said, I thought I lived in a world that you were innocent until proven guilty.
You think.
That myth, that's a myth. That hasn't been the case in years.
Right. The Big Ten, y'all was wrong for that. Y'all wrong for that. And Michigan still prevailed. I'm gonna need my associate or assistant head coach that led the team. I'm gonna need him you were a little too much in your feels. You too grown to be crying like that.
Not them crying.
So I have Oregon State as my number one. They scored 62 points this past week. They beat Stanford 62-17. That's got to count for something. That's got to move you up the list. I got them at number one.
They got to count for nothing. That counts for Stanford coming to the ACC and just, oh boy. All right.
Them coming to the ACC and finna get waxed. Fellas, I had a chance to talk to some a close friend over the weekend, and they told me this whole Connor Stallions background, and all I can say, it has all the makings for a made-for-TV movie. I'll tell you the story off air because you're going to be like, what in the hell? But with that being said, the Be Live top 5 and not top 5, we got it over and out the way. Fellas, guess what time it is?
Time for Alabama versus Chattanooga.
Lord have mercy. We Scottie, you are wild. I'm glad you asked Scottie D and Be Live. It's time.
Circle that one on my calendar for this.
For our favorite portion of the show, you're going to hell, the choices of the voices. And with that being said, hey, yo, Button, Hit it. Choices of the voices coming after this. Behind, I'm gonna need to put up a stencil bar for that.
Yeah, you will. I'm so sick of him.
Choices of the voices coming right up.
Had that one
after this.
circled on my calendar. Chattanooga versus the Tide. Roll Tide.
We'll be right back.
And now, our favorite part of the show, the choices of the voices.
Once again, thank you to the wonderful land. Everybody hold on to your ears and your underwear. So lovely Miss Button for introducing our favorite portion of the show, the choices of the voices. Y'all know how we do it. We ask y'all a question. Sometimes y'all follow the races. Y'all do what the hell what you want to do. But you know, we're gracious for your participation any damn way. Oh, and if you got a hot take that you want heard here on the SportsBros podcast, let us know. We might have your voice on this next episode. Yeah, we still do the voice recordings. Get engaged, get involved. Let's get it. Let's go. Scottie D. Yeah, Scottie D. What's the topic for this week's choices of the voices?
All right, we were backing it up this week, talking about the man who backs up the man, the backup quarterback. Tell us one or two of your favorites, or just perhaps a significant performance that stands out to you by a backup quarterback. And Eddie Cool, what did the people tell us?
All right, let's go. We got a lengthy list, but let's get into it. Jeffrey Lewis said, great question this week. We are facing a lot this year. Longevity comes to mind when you ask what you got. Longevity is defined as long existence or service. Oxford definition, whatever. All right, after some fun research, I'm going with Mason Rudolph. I feel he defines longevity. Mason has proved himself as a touchdown thrower. I choose him because he looks strong and would give him the time to find a young stud. Secondly, I found Malik Willis, a young dual threat quarterback. Have we been watching the same Mason Rudolph?
Well, I think he's most famous for getting conked on the head by a helmet, wasn't that?
Yeah, he's most famous for getting beat the hell up. Yeah.
I mean, he's a serviceable backup. I mean, he's been there for a while. I mean, obviously he's held that roster spot in Pittsburgh for years now. So yeah, I mean, he is what he is. That's why he's a backup and not a starter somewhere.
Yeah. All right. Moving right along, we got Randy Martin. He said, I love that the Steelers had Michael Vick as a backup quarterback. He showed his ass for us, won some good games, and the same with Byron Leftwich. That is right. They did have Byron Leftwich and Michael Vick. All right. Tom Wynn said, got to start with Frank Wright, January 3rd, 1993. Hard to top that backup performance. And that was the performance against the Oilers, right? In the wild card playoffs that year, if I'm not mistaken. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
All right. Moving right along, we got our Hall of Famer, Uncle Max. Hey, Uncle Max, man, get well soon, man. We're praying for you and we love you, all right? Uncle Max said that Earl Morrall and Nick Foles, both who led their respective teams, the Colts and Eagles, to Super Bowl victories. Earl Morrall was also a member of the Miami Dolphins during their undefeated season, coming off the bench when necessary. As a matter of fact, I will go as far to say that Earl Morrall is the greatest backup quarterback in the history of the National Football League. So Uncle Max gives us Earl Morrall and Nick Foles as backup guards.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Earl Morrall, I mean, he was pretty much known as the most famous backup quarterback of all time, but he actually had some starter minutes. I think he started Super Bowl III, if I'm not mistaken, and then United came in and scored the only touchdown. But again, that's why he was the backup.
Yep, the backup to back up the man. All right, Tony Bogan, what's up, TB? He said, there are two performances that stand out to me in different ways. The first is Matt Flynn, who backed up Aaron Rodgers and throwing for 480 yards and 6 touchdowns against the Lions on New Year's Day of 2012. The second is not so good. Former Bronco Kendall Hinton, he started as a emergency quarterback against the Saints in 2020 as their entire quarterback room was exposed to the Rona, the COVID, the vid. He went 1 for 9 and 13 yards on that day. He did what he had to do given the circumstances, though. I remember that. Yeah, the whole quarterback room got sick and like, all right, can you throw a ball? Yeah. All right, get out there. You start next week. The hell. All right, and Trey Dizzle, he says, so the most memorable backup QB to me is pretty obvious. Dak Prescott. His inability to throw, use his small brain, escape pressure, audible, or lead a team really hurt his playing career. Unfortunately for him, the Cowboys never got him a quality starter to take the reins, and he had to continuously play like that for a decade. Trey Dizzle, I don't know if you know, but ever since the Cowboys lost to the 49ers, statistically, that Prescott has been one of the best QBs in the league. But in the words of the Almighty Be Live, I digress.
MVP Prescott.
See, I should never said that. Here we go.
And to Trey Dizzle's credit, this question came out before his performance against the Giants at 400.
Yes. Now he's in the driver's seat of the MVP race.
Stop it immediately.
A+. A pluses from all of us. Midterm grade.
They're talking about CJ Stroud getting some MVP votes. Oh my God.
Rightfully so. All right, we got Mark Oles. He says the Panthers head coach, Frank Reich, and I think he shared the same answer as Tom Wynn as well, too. Yep. All right, with that being said, fellas, who you got? B-Live, start with you first.
Well, I'm surprised we didn't get any mentions of Gardner Minshew.
Oh.
That would have been a good spot to throw him in there. No Fitz Magic in there, none of that. Even Geno Smith would have been a good answer thrown in there at some point in time. But y'all do realize that the greatest of all time, Archibald, for all those extra middle names y'all want to throw in there for Tom Brady, he was a backup.
That's true.
And Drew Bledsoe got hurt, and Tom Brady not only came off the bench, he led the team all the way to a Super Bowl victory. Coming off as the season started, Tom Brady was the backup quarterback. So if that isn't the best performance of a backup quarterback ever, I don't know what is. But I don't fault y'all because you just don't look at Tom Brady as a backup quarterback. But he was a backup at Michigan. He was a backup when he came into the league, and he got thrown into it. And next thing you know, 7 rings later, he's that farm animal. There you go.
All right, that's a good pick. So I'm gonna kind of go away from that type of thinking because he was a backup, and like Kurt Warner would be another good example of someone who was a backup and then went on to great things. Even Tony Romo spent 3 years on the bench. Aaron Rodgers was a backup. So, but I'm thinking more in lines. I'm going to go with my answer more in lines of guys who were backups and just always backups. Yeah. So I'm going to give you one moment, and you're going to see this over the next week or so. But in 1974, the Redskins came to Dallas to play the Cowboys and had a bounty on Roger Staubach, and they knocked him out of the third quarter. And rookie quarterback Clint Longley came in trailing 16-3 and led Dallas to a come-from-behind victory. And they show this a lot of times on Thanksgiving anyway, just because it was a great Thanksgiving moment. But now having playing Washington, they will, I'm positive we'll see the Mad Bomber Clint Longley slinging the ball around on Thanksgiving. And by the way, that was his best performance. He also 2 years later would get in a fight with Staubach and punch him in the eye, and he didn't last long with the Cowboys beyond that. So his career never really panned out beyond that. But I want to show a little love to a guy who's never been able to quite get over that backup to starter role permanently, and that is Tyrod Taylor. This poor guy, every time he seemingly gets an opportunity, something goes wrong with him. He got the Bills to like their first playoff in however many years, 15 years or whatever. And then he gets replaced. Josh Allen comes in. Then he heads off to Cleveland, and Baker Mayfield shows up, and he gets replaced. And then he heads out to San Diego, and they draft Justin Herbert, and he gets replaced. And every time he just seems like he's getting a chance, he gets hurt. Something always goes wrong for this poor guy. He was actually playing pretty well for the Giants, gets hurt. So there's always something that goes wrong with Tyrod Taylor, but he's a very solid player. He's maybe not the best option as a starting quarterback, but he's a guy who's capable. He's a guy who can get in there and help you from time to time. So Tyrod Taylor is a guy I wanted to get a little shout out to as a backup quarterback.
Was he with where he had where they botched the surgery and he had what was it, a punctured lung or something like that?
Yeah, I think that was when he was with the Chargers, I believe.
Yeah. That was just unfortunate. Like at that time, he was playing like a starting quarterback, and next thing you know, he's out. And
he actually made a Pro Bowl, I think, in 2017. I mean, he had some good moments with the Bills, and I mean, there's always something with this poor guy. Every time he's probably like on the cusp of making a move. You know, even this year, you know, Daniel Jones out for the season. It's Tyrod's team, and then on October 29th, he's on injured reserve. He gets hurt and goes on injured reserve again. So, but a likable guy, you know. I just always kind of like Tyrod Taylor.
And so to the way I've asked the question, my answer would be Fitzpatrick. That would be my guy for the journeyman, serviceable quarterback that never quite. He was just, but I'm 17, 18 years, 12 teams later, and brought the Fitz magic. I was like, yo,
yeah.
Arguably the smartest quarterback in all of NFL because he went to Harvard, right?
He went to Harvard. Yes, he went to Harvard.
Yeah. And there was another guy, I don't know if you guys would remember, but there was a guy by the name of Don Strock who was a backup in Miami for a lot of years.
Name sounds familiar.
And I always talk about I've mentioned you guys before, the greatest game I feel like I've ever seen was the Dolphins and Chargers in that AFC playoff game in 1981. And David Woodley was the starting quarterback, and he got, I can't remember if he got knocked out or replaced, but Strock came in and was part of that magical night. And he was Marino's backup for a few years there. So Don Strock was another. He's kind of in that Earl Morrall mode where he just was always like a backup, and every once in a while would get a chance to play. But Eddie, cool, who you got there? Talk to us.
Tony Bowden kind of took my answer, so I'm going to say Matt Flynn. That one time, I think that was that performance. I think him and Matt Stafford threw for like, I think if I'm not mistaken, Flynn threw for like 500 yards and 5 touchdowns or 6 touchdowns, and Matt Stafford threw for a lot too. And how pivotal is that is because that led, because he was backing up Aaron Rodgers, that led him to hit the market, become a free agent. Seattle gave him a bunch of money, and he lost his job to a guy by the name of Russell Wilson, a rookie, and then he served as a backup. So I call Matt Flynn the ultimate finesser in the history of the NFL because he had one game, got a bunch of money, ain't played since, probably retired and said the hell with it. Matt Flynn, I ain't mad at you, baby. None whatsoever. And shout out to everybody for this week's participation in the Choice of the Voices. Scottie D, what's on tap after break?
Well, as we are getting late into the college football season, I'm going to throw this one out there to you. Who do you think is going to win the Heisman? There's not a runaway candidate this year. A couple guys might be trying to edge up past the rest of the field, but there are still 2 more weeks left? Mm-hmm. So there still could be a breakout performance that separates someone from the pack. So we're going to ask you, who is your favorite to win the Heisman? And we'll hear this answer in 2 weeks because we will not be with everyone on Thanksgiving week. So the following week, as we'll be like sliding right on into Heisman voting season, we'll be right on topic that week.
Yep, that we will. That about does it for the Choice of the Voices. Be live.
One thing I want to throw out there, just because I looked it up real quick, that game that you're talking about, where I met Flynn and Stafford. Mm-hmm. Between the two of them, they threw for 1,000 yards.
Okay, all right.
Matt Flynn had 480. Stafford had 520.
Okay,
Flynn
all right.
With 6 touchdowns. Stafford threw for 5.
And that earned him a big old fat contract. Yeah, that Seattle always regretted because then Russell Wilson came and stole the job.
Dummies. Yeah. All right. With that being said, that does it for this week's Choices of the Voices. Coming right up, Be Live, bust out the grinder. It's time for a round of pepper. Coming at you right here on the SportsBros podcast.
Okay, boys, let's bring it home with a round of pepper.
All right, everybody, it's time for us to go home and get the hell out of here. But before we go, we're going to hit you with a round of pepper. You know how we do it. 3 topics, rapid fire style, kind of, sort of, not really here to engage, enlighten, educate, and entertain. With that being said, I'll go first. On this day in history, back in 1901, the 6th edition of the Iron Bowl, Auburn beats Alabama 17-0 in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So yeah, the Iron Bowl. Not too far away, fellas. Over to you, Scottie D.
I love the Iron Bowl. So the NBA in-season tournament has begun, and we've all been looking forward to this because, actually, we haven't. Who cares? It's just more regular season games. Be Live, over to you.
My first pepper point. I'm gonna just break down some numbers real quick. 4 million. Let's just put this out there. Since 2022, 4 million for Zach Arnett, fired from Mississippi State. 4.4 million for Herm Edwards, fired from Arizona State. 8.7 million for Carl Durrell, fired from Colorado. 11 million for Paul Chryst, fired from Wisconsin. 11.4 million for Jeff Collins, fired from Georgia Tech. 15 million for Scott Frost, fired from Nebraska. 15.5 million for Brian Harsin, fired from Auburn. And all of those combined doesn't even match how much Texas A&M owes Jimbo Fisher with a whopping $76 million buyout to fire Jimbo Fisher. He gets to sit at home for the next 8 years and collect a paycheck. Between him and Sumlin is almost $100 million they're paying in buyouts for former head coaches. Parents, if you have kids,
That's ridiculous.
Parents, if you have kids, show them how to become failed college football coaches. Easiest job you ever have in your entire life. Eddy Cool, the ball.
Now, ain't that something? I half-ass perform at work. I damn near get fired. But these guys half-ass perform at their job, and they walk away millionaires. Absolute bull junk, all right? So, fellas, as we know, or as you may have heard during Be Live Top 5 intro, I said something about Orediggers, all right? O-R-E Diggers. And that is a little shout-out to the Colorado School of Mines, a Division II football program in Colorado, a part of the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. Well, last week, the number 1 team in D2, they beat the Briggity Breaks off of Fort Lewis 82-0. 82-0 as they are undefeated, and they have won their conference.
They should be in Be Live's top 5.
Hey, man, they're pretty good. And they won the conference championships from 2018 right on up to 2023. And also they have a quarterback by the name of Joe Matocha, who has 181 career total touchdowns, the most in college football history. That includes 155 passing and 25 rushing scores. So, yeah, the Colorado School of Mines. I thought it was a joke, but they are real deal. Over to you, Scottie D.
Circle December 15th on your calendar, boys, because that is the day that Andre August will be back into the ring. You guys know who he is?
Who's that?
He is Jake Paul's next opponent. Andre August, who's a 35-year-old journeyman who's made a career out of beating guys who suck, is the stepping stone for Jake Paul, who says after this win, he wants to be considered for world champion contention. Guys, I couldn't be any more excited. I wish I could close my eyes and make it be December 15th. Be Live, over to you.
Oh, boy.
Logan got gold.
Taking a shower with just the belt on. And tell him, gotta chill out on some of these things.
Being nasty.
My second pepper point. Enjoy time with your parents, your loved ones, especially your parents, no matter how big you make it in life, especially if you're the backup quarterback for the New York Giants, where Tommy DeVito, he's starting. I mean, I get it. His salary this year is $900,000. But yes, he admits not only that he still lives with his parents, but
Nothing wrong with that.
I don't have to worry about laundry, what I'm eating for dinner, chicken cutlets, and all that is waiting for me when I get there. My mom still makes my bed. Everything is handled for me. Tommy DeVito on living with his parents. 25 years old, mind you. He gonna be the most single person ever in the history of ever if my Dearest is still making his bed. Eddy Cool, the ball.
My mom doesn't make my bed.
Mine neither. What did I see on TikTok the other day? A lot of women, they got an issue with somebody having a roommate, but they have no problem with them living with their girlfriends, ex-wives. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. All right. Third and final pepper point goes out to me, Eddy Cool, aka Edwin Vereen. You can check out my work on the Lorain County Sports Network. My interview with defensive end from the Brookside Cardinals, Aiden McLaughlin, it dropped on Monday. Coming up next Monday will be my interview with Elyria Pioneers running back Kevin Jordan. We talk about everything from his new coach to his record-setting game, all that and then some. So check me out Monday, 4 p.m. on the Lorain County Sports Network with the postseason wrap-up with yours truly, Edwin Vereen. Over to you, Scottie D.
So recently, my favorite person, Roger Goodell, got a contract extension that's going to take him through 2027. It was not known exactly all the details, but it's believed that it will push his career earnings up over $700 million. Roger Goodell, we have a lot to be thankful for. He took an obscure, unknown league like the NFL and brought it to mainstream in the last 10 years. He brought exposure and network coverage that no one could have ever dreamed of. No one ever saw this popularity coming prior to Roger Goodell. Yeah. Be live. I'm sick. Oh, yeah.
Come on, you weren't excited about the Colts versus who didn't even play in Germany? If I was German, I'd be pissed.
Colts and Patriots.
I mean, I never even watched the NFL before Roger Goodell got there. I'd heard about it in passing, but Roger Goodell really elevated this league from relative obscurity into the mainstream.
Well, my third and final pepper point is simply this. Because by the next time that you hear us, there will be a whole 2 weeks of college football games, including rivalry. And in the beloved state of South Carolina, the Palmetto Bowl will be located in Columbia, South Carolina this year at 7:30 p.m. And you can see that game on the SEC network. So you're telling me I have to watch this stupid game against those stupid dirt peckers, and I got to hear stupid commentary that's going to be biased the whole time? They're going to have to, first of all, if I hear that freaking, golly, I see why you wore that jersey, because I won't see you until that game happens. We've taken a 2-week break. Man, we owe y'all so much after that 1 point freaking mess, 31-30 from last year. It's going down. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be ugly. And God forbid if we lose to North Carolina and we have to oh boy.
We are going to win that game.
You worry about, is it Pitt, Miami?
Us. We are going to win this one.
It ain't French. I told you about this. Eddy Cool, I'm telling you, it's going down. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be, oh my goodness.
We're winning. This is our year. We're winning it.
Find an old line for in 2 weeks.
We will.
I better eat your grits, because I'm telling you, we coming for you. We coming.
Okay, happy Thanksgiving.
And in closing, do something nice for yourself. And if you can do something nice for someone else, they'll greatly appreciate it now more than ever. Be good, be nice, and be cool, baby. It's been another episode of the SportsBros podcast. Be like, take us home.
CLEMSON. Yes, sir.
Hey, thanks for watching and listening to the SportsBros podcast. We love you. Happy holidays. We'll see you on the other side.
Happy Thanksgiving and then Merry Christmas.
Yeah, that too. Hey, it's Eddy Cool here from the SportsBros podcast. Thank you for listening. And as always, continue to follow us on all of our social media platforms. Just click the link in the description box and keep up with the SportsBros podcast. And once again, thanks for listening.